The Boston Bruins have made some absolute steals of a trade on the trade deadline day just before the timer ended. The Boston Bruins have altered this franchise forever. We're going to be breaking down a few of these big moves here and talking about why this may be one of the best deadlines in Boston Bruins history, with, of course, a few exceptions. We're going to be talking about all of that here in this video very quickly. Before we get into this one, though, we are currently at 5,992 subscribers. We've gained nearly 100 today in this extremely busy day throughout the stream, throughout earlier's video of Brad Marchand, and I appreciate all of your guys' support. Once again, we're on the road to 6K, and we're very, very much close to that, and we're going to be having it this video. But I do want to thank you guys all your support for this entire week. It's been a very busy one, but we got to get back to more of this stuff, and let's start off with here one of the biggest trades that we have today. But I'm not going to call it the biggest just yet. Let me know what you guys think. Rank these trades for me in the comments below. We'll be doing videos about all of these, breaking these down tomorrow, each individual trade. But this video, I wanted to put them all in and go over why these trades are absolute robberies by the Boston Bruins. So the first one here, Brandon Carlo traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, for those who are on the stream, for those who are watching, this was definitely a crazy reaction. This one really started the first bit of, kind of madness, I guess we could say, over the last hour of the deadline as the clock struck 4:30 Newfoundland time and the deadline time. Fraser Minten, a first-round pick, top 5 protected in 2026, and 2025 fourth-round pick from Philadelphia. We're heading to Boston for Brandon Carlo. The Bruins retained 15% of Carlo's salary. Now, for what this trade was worth, for what we thought Brandon Carlo was worth, we knew, and I've kind of discussed here on the channel, that he was not having the greatest season. That's been no surprise, especially with Elias Lindholm out. He was not having his regular partner. I didn't really think his value was going to be that high, and I still don't think it is, but don't tell anybody, because this trade is an absolute steal. Fraser Minten, one of the Maple Leafs' top prospects, one that I've been seeing a lot of players, and Leafs fans talk about as being a big loss. And then pairing that with a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick, that's an absolute steal for Brandon Carlo. And yeah, 50% retained, that's very, very doable for this whole kind of system. And there is, I believe, 3 years left on Brandon Carlo's deal. If not 3, it's 2. I can't remember the exact specifications. I do apologize, but this is an absolute steal for Brandon Carlo himself, regardless of the contract, salary, retention. But Fraser Minten is a big, big fella. He's a big player, a guy that a lot of teams are, have not liked to play against. We've seen him play in the World Juniors with Team Canada. 20 years old, can play center and left wing. 6'2", 192 pounds, still only very young as well, and will put on a few more pounds. And he likes to throw the body, which is something the Bruins must have liked in him when it came down to selecting who they wanted here. A left shot in the AHL this year, 13 points in 26 games. He's a very good player that I think will just need that little bit of extra time to develop, but with this Boston Bruins team, he's going to have all of that, as he is going to be one of the main assets that we have featured here in this whole season. Now, with the remainder of this team kind of being a bunch of AHL players, but I do expect Fraser Minten to be in the NHL and playing with the Bruins when he does get here, get to practice and whatnot, so I'm a big fan of that one. Let me know, and remember, rank these in the comments below what you think. I have 3 trades here, 1 through 3, and Brad Marchand is not one of them. But number 2, I wanted to pull this one up. A trade that really came in under the deadline, came in very late, and surprised a lot of people. The Bruins acquired Henri Jokiharju from the Buffalo Sabres for a 2026 fourth-round pick. Now, Henri Jokiharju, a right-handed defenseman coming from Buffalo, still very young, played with Finland in the Four Nations face-off, and is a pleasant surprise to add to this right-side defense, and really is an immediate replacement for Brandon Carlo. Now, obviously, Carlo probably has more experience. He's a bit older, has, been around and done that, is what I like to say when you get a player, let a player go like that. But when you look at Henri Jokiharju and kind of his assets over the past few years and the way he's produced, he's been a pretty decent player. He's not played a full season in the NHL, but when you go back to his past few seasons, 20-74, 13-60, and this year 6-42, he's a solid defenseman that can really play some lockdown defense at 6 foot, 200 even. He is a very solid built defenseman as well. When we see him at this level, he's going to be just kind of that two-way defensive defenseman that a lot of teams would like to have as a depth one. But a big thing for him is when he comes back, when Charlie McAvoy comes back, and we have Henri Jokiharju here, 25 years old, much younger than Brandon Carlo, and will be a bit interesting asset to kind of see how he does progress over the season. And one thing I want to note on Henri Jokiharju as well, a +6 on the season for the Buffalo Sabres, and a team who have not been playing well. So it just goes to show that in those 42 games, he's not been a liability for that team and has actually been a pretty important piece for them. Personally, I'm going to rank this one third in this video solely because the other two are just don't know how Don Sweeney pulled them off. Let's be honest here. But the third and final trade covering in this video is, of course, the Charlie Coyle one. Now, Charlie Coyle got traded to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Casey Mittelstadt, Will Zellers, and a second-round pick. Now, we saw Casey Mittelstadt come out first. That was what was announced first. Immediately, love the deal. Then we see Zellers and a second. Immediately, once again, piled on top, you get a younger guy in Casey Mittelstadt who is seemingly back. He's seemingly here with his potential that was, quote-unquote a bust earlier on in his career, has been climbing back to what he was supposed to be, and I've loved his play this year. One thing that may be a bit biased now that he is a Boston Bruin, of course, but I really do think that he's been a big asset. Now, the second-round pick, another just addition on top, we absolutely love to see that. You can't get any better than just throwing another pick in there, but the hidden gem of this trade is Will Zellers, and I want to pull up what we have right here from Michael Sullivan. I do thank Michael Sullivan for putting these tweets out, making it much easier for me to kind of organize these and, instead of going and scalping at multiple different websites. Will Zellers, an 18-year-old currently playing in the USHL, a North Dakota commit. He's 18 years old, center left wing, 5'11", 170 pounds, not the biggest guy, but very speedy and offensively driven. Here's where things get insane. Playing with Shot Talk at St. Mary's, 54 games played, 57 goals, 54 assists, over a goal per game, assists per game, and 111 points in 54 games. And this year in the USHL, the second leading points leader in the league, 40 games played, 37 goals, 21 assists for 58 points. This kid is elite. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with when he gets to the NHL level. Immediately seeing this goal total, in both leagues here, going from the USHL and also in St. Mary's, puts me in mind of some of the elite goal scorers that we're currently seeing in the NHL. And putting it in, especially when it comes to the USHL, we've gotten a great example of seeing many players in the NHL currently who have played in that league, and being able to compare those stats as an 18-year-old is absolutely insane. So this right now here is my number one. I think that this trade is the biggest steal of the day, not just the day, the entire NHL trade deadline. We're going back as well to the Bruins' other trades where they got rid of Brazeau, acquired Marat Kuznatinov, Jacob Lauko, and, going to Trent Frederic where they go out and make another great trade there. This team, and, I'm going to give Don Sweeney props where it comes to, has made some very good trades today. Now, obviously, the Brad Marchand one was not featured in this video. I made a video about that earlier today. And the reaction to that was, pretty mixed. I think that it is fair. A guy at 37 years old, or going to be 37 years old, and Brad Marchand, he did not have much left in his NHL career. He did not have that much value. Out 3 to 4 weeks was what the timeline that Don Sweeney had said, and they were far apart, or not far apart, they weren't linking on the extension. So when you're looking at the trade, of course, it made sense in that time. It was fair value, but when you have the option to not trade your captain, it just comes down to a lot of what's going on inside this team. But overall, I got to give Don Sweeney props. He made a fantastic deadline, has committed to the rebuild, and he has not called it a rebuild. He's still calling it a retool, but sometimes it does take more to be able to get this team back to where it was, and then not. And I think this is the prime example of it. Now, when we're going to be looking at this team next, it's certainly going to be a very, very tough remainder of this season. Not a lot of people are going to have chemistry and whatnot. It's going to come down to maybe another tough year next year, but the way that this team was built here in this trade deadline is making this going to be one of the most influential trade deadlines in recent memory when it does come down to all of these players not just making the NHL, not just getting more developed, but when they find their rhythm, when they have all these younger guys start to get older, start to get into, the primes of their careers. This could be a very, very dangerous team, and Don Sweeney had made some moves, I think, worth an applause. So I applaud Don Sweeney here. I don't know how much that's going to change the outcome of his offseason for him and the Bruins, and if they're going to fire him or whatnot. We've been discussing it. A lot of people are still calling for it after the Brad Marchand move, but that's one of the few that, we're not great, but when you're looking at everything else here, just in this video in the past few days, an absolute steal. So I want to know what you guys think down below. Rank them 1, 2, and 3. What's your favorite? How do you think these trades are going to work out? And what do you think of the assets that the Bruins got here today in the NHL trade deadline? I'll tell you what. I'm a huge fan. I'm very excited for the rest of the season, even though it may not be, as exciting to see a deep playoff run. But this is going to be a big few weeks when it does come down to the end of the season to see how this team works out. But that's all I got in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But I'll be having, once again, more videos coming out tomorrow, going over these trades, going over some quotes that are going to have came out at the time of all of these trades happening. But the trade deadline may be over, but we still have so much content. You won't want to miss it. Hit the sub button. Join me here on the channel, covering everything Boston Bruins. But that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.